Have you ever met someone who just doesn't get rattled? I mean, life throws storms at them, stressful jobs, difficult people, unexpected setbacks, and yet they move through it all like still water, calm, composed, almost untouchable. Meanwhile, others around them fall apart at the slightest inconvenience. A late email ruins their day. A single comment sets them off. And it makes you wonder, what's the difference? The truth is, it's not luck. And it's not something they were born with. Calmness is a skill. And just like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered. You see, most of us have been trained by society, by habit, by survive auto react. Fast, loud, emotionally. As if our voice must be heard, our feelings must be shown, and our defense must be immediate. But here's the catch: reaction is not strength. Reaction is giving away your power. Because the moment you let something outside of you decide how you feel inside, or no longer in control. Let me ask you this: when was the last time you reacted emotionally to something and it actually helped? Did yelling fix the problem? Did stressing out make it easier? Or did it just drain you, leave you tense, and rob you of peace? What separates strong people from the rest isn't that they feel less, it's that they pause. They create space. They allow the storm to pass without being pulled into it. That kind of calmness is a superpower. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about realizing you don't have to engage with everything that pokes at you. You don't have to respond to every insult, every mistake, every mood swing around you. You're allowed to keep your energy sacred. And when you do, something shifts. You begin to notice that your calm becomes your compass. You stop living on edge, waiting to defend yourself. You start choosing peace even when chaos calls your name. That's what makes someone truly powerful. Not their title, not their voice, not how quickly they can clap back, but how still they can remain when everything around them is shaking. And yes, it takes time. Yes, it feels unnatural at first. But with practice, calm becomes your new normal. So the next time life throws something unexpected your way, pause. Breathe. Remember, this moment doesn't define you. Your reaction does. And in that pause, you take back your power. Because the strongest people aren't the ones who fight the loudest. They're the ones who choose silence, who choose stillness, who choose to rise above. Start today. Train your mind the way you would train your body. And you'll discover that your calm becomes your greatest strength. Let's be honest, live in a world that's constantly poking us. Every day, there's something trying to pull us out of peace. A rude comment, a disappointing email, someone cutting you off in traffic. Life keeps throwing these little sparks, hoping for a reaction. And most of us, we give it exactly what it wants. We snap, we vent, we spiral. But here's what we rarely realize: every emotional reaction is a transaction. And the cost? Your peace, your energy, your power. Let me say it clearly: the moment you react emotionally, you hand control over to the outside world. When you let anger take the wheel, when frustration dictates your tone, when insecurity drives your decisions, you're no longer operating from your own center. You become a puppet, your strings pulled by whatever triggers you. But it doesn't have to be that way. Truly powerful people, those who walk into chaos and remain grounded, they're not made of stone. They feel everything, but they've trained themselves to master one essential skill: the pause. That tiny space between emotion and action, that's where your strength is born. That's the moment where you either explode or evolve. Imagine this: someone throws a harsh insult your way. You feel the heat rise in your chest. Your heart pounds. Your mind rushes to defend. But instead of reacting, you pause. You breathe. You step back into your awareness and ask, is this worth my energy? That's power. You're not suppressing your feelings. You're choosing not to let them run the show. Because emotional control doesn't mean being cold, it means being conscious. It means responding, not reacting. It means realizing that not every battle is worth fighting, especially when that battle costs your peace. Here's the truth: the world will always try to push your buttons. That won't change. But what can change is your decision to disconnect the wires. And when you Daohin, you no longer react to every jab, every slight, every inconvenience arise. You step out of the noise and into a higher level of being. So today, I challenge you to notice your next emotional trigger. Catch it. Pause. Breathe. And in that pause, ask yourself, do I want to give this my power? Most of the time, the answer will be no. You're not here to be ruled by emotion. You're here to master it. Because at the end of the day, your ability to remain calm in the chow stat's your real flex. That's your silent strength. That's where you stop reacting and start leading. Here's something most people don't realize. Your body teaches your mind what to believe. It sounds backwards, right? We grow up thinking that feelings come first and actions follow. That you need to feel calm to act calm. That you need to feel confident to look confident. But the truth is the opposite. Act first. Feelings follow. This is one of the most powerful psychological truths you can learn, and once you do, it changes everything. Let's break it down. Have you ever forced yourself to smile on a tough day? Maybe it felt fake at first, but slowly something shifted. Your body sent a signal to your brain, we're okay, we're safe, and before long, your mind started to believe it. That's not magic. That's psychology. It's called cognitive dissonance. When your behavior and emotions don't align, your brain wants to resolve the gap. So if you act unbothered, even when you're stressed, your brain starts to adapt. It starts to believe you're actually okay. This is the foundation of emotional training. Imagine walking into a stressful meeting, and instead of letting your heart race and your posture shrink, you sit tall, shoulders back, calm breath. You don't lash out. You don't fidget. You just sit composed. Even if chaos is swirling inside you, when the outside, you project stability. And guess what? Within moments, your internal world starts to mirror that outer stillness. It's not about pretending. It's about reprogramming. Because if you constantly act from emotion, you reinforce emotional chaos. But if you consistently act from peace, even when it's hard, to begin to build new patterns in your mind. You begin to train yourself to stay grounded. And here's the real magic. When you stop reacting, the world loses its power over you. The person trying to provoke you, they get confused. The negativity thrown your way, it bounces off. Because silence is a boundary, and calmness is a language of power. People only push your buttons when they know those buttons work. When you stop giving them a reaction, they stop pressing. You remove their control. So the next time you're under pressure, try this. Straighten your posture. Slow your breath. Relax your face. Let your body tell your mind, we are okay. Do it often enough and you won't just be acting calm. You'll become calm. You'll no longer fake confidence. You'll feel it from the inside out. That's how change happens, not in loud declarations, but in small, quiet decisions repeated daily. So if your mind feels chaotic, start with your body. It listens, it responds, and it leads the way back to peace. Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed by your emotions? Like anger just took over or sadness wouldn't let go? As if you had no choice but to feel whatever your mind threw at you? Let me share a truth that most people never hear. You are not your emotions. They don't define you. They don't control you. They are not permanent. They are passing clouds, not the sky. But here's where we get stuck. We confuse feeling with identity. I'm angry. I'm broken. I'm not okay. But those are just emotions. Temporary visitors. And like any visitor, they'll eventually leave unless we invite them to stay. What gives emotions power over us is not their presence. It's our reaction. It's the instant impulse to lash out when angry, to shut down when sad, to panic when afraid. But what if, just for a moment, you didn't react? What if you paused, observed the emotion, and chose not to follow it? That's emotional freedom. That's where your power lives. Because here's the truth. Emotions don't control your reaction to them does. Think about the last time something upset you. Was it the event itself that hurt you? Or was it your interpretation, your reaction, the story you told yourself? Maybe someone criticized you, and your mind whispered, you're not good enough. But what if you told a different story? What if you said, this is just noise, it doesn't define me? That's the difference between being ruled by emotions and being aware of them. Strong people don't ignore emotions. They feel them fully, but respond with intention. They know that feelings are temporary, but actions leave footprints. Words spoken in anger don't disappear. Decisions made in fear can ripple for years. So instead of reacting, they breathe. They observe. They choose their response with care. And in that space between emotion and action, they become uncheckable. It's not always easy. It takes practice. But every time you pause, instead of snapping back, Every time you let a feeling pass without following it, you build something stronger than any emotion. You build emotional resilience. So the next time anger rises or anxiety tightens your chest, don't push it away. Just sit with it. Breathe. Remind yourself, this is a wave. I am the ocean. Because when you realize that emotions are not just a part of your experience, you stop being a prisoner to them. And you step into the role you were meant to play. The calm, conscious observer. The one in control. The one who chooses peace no matter the storm. What if I told you that your mind can be reprogrammed? That the way you react to stress, to criticism, to fear, it's not permanent. It's not who you are. It's just a pattern. And like any pattern, it can be changed. This is not some fluffy self-help idea. It's science. It's called neuroplasticity, brain's ability to reshape itself based on repeated experience. Every time you react with anger, your brain wires that reaction deeper. Every time you spiral in stress, it becomes more natural to panic next time. But here's the good news. You can reverse it. You can rewire your brain on decision at a time. The calmest people you know, they weren't born that way. They weren't handed a secret gift of serenity. They built it, quietly, consistently, by choosing peace over and over again, until peace became their default. Let me give you an example. Think of someone who stays grounded in high-pressure situations, while others are raising their voices, defending themselves, or getting flustered. This person just listens, breathes, responds, not reacts. You might think they feel nothing, but the truth is they feel everything. They've just trained themselves to pause. And that training didn't happen overnight. It came from repetition. Because that's what mastery is, repetition with intention. Every time you breathe deeply instead of snapping back. Every time you choose silence over impulsive reaction. Every time you stand tall and steady in the middle of chaos. You're not faking calm, you're forming it. And the more you practice, the more your mind begins to follow. What once felt like effort begins to feel natural. What once took strength becomes who you are. But here's the key, you have to show up daily. You don't train for a marathon by running once a month. You don't build mental resilience by staying calm once in a while. You build it in the small, quiet moments. When someone cuts you off in traffic. When a co-worker's tone rubs you the wrong way. When your plans fall apart. These are your practice rounds. Your reps. And each time you choose to remain calm, you get stronger. You begin to show your mind. This is who we are now. We don't react out of habit. We respond with clarity. We don't give our peace away. It might feel unnatural at first. It might feel like pretending. But that's okay. All transformation feels awkward in the beginning. You're not trying to become someone else. You're revealing the part of you that's always been there. The steady, wise, uncheckable part that got buried under years of stress and reactivity. So today, start small. Pause before you reply to that text. Take a breath before you raise your voice. Soften your shoulders before making a decision. Let your body tell your mind, we are safe, we are grounded, we are in control. And with time, that message becomes permanent. Your nervous system starts to relax. Your thoughts become clearer. And one day, you'll face a situation that would have broken you in the past. And you'll notice you're calm, unmoved, solid, not because you're pretending, but because you've trained for this moment. And your mind has learned, we don't break, we breathe. Let's talk about something that might sound cold at first, but in reality, it's one of the most powerful tools you can develop. Indifference. Now, let me be clear, indifference doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're numb or shut off from the world. It simply means that you choose what gets to touch your heart and what doesn't. Because in life, not everything deserves a reaction. Not every insult needs a reply. Not every opinion needs to be argued. Not every situation is worth your peace. The strongest people you'll ever meet aren't the loudest in the room. They're not the ones clapping back online, explaining themselves to every critic. They're the ones who stay still, who stay silent, who refuse to let petty things hijack their inner calm. That's the power of indifference. When you become indifferent to what doesn't serve you, you take away its power. Negativity. It fades when you stop feeding it attention. Toxic people. They lose interest when they realize they can't trigger you. Drama. It dies the moment you stop participating. Here's the truth. The world is full of noise. And much of that noise is designed to distract you, to pull you into meaningless battles, to drain your energy, to keep you reactive. But you get to choose. You get to decide what enters your mental space and what gets left outside. Let me ask you something. How many times have you lost sleep replaying someone's words in your head? How often have you wasted time arguing a point that didn't change anything? How much energy have you spent trying to prove yourself to someone who wasn't even listening? Now imagine if you simply let it go. Not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Not because it didn't matter, but because your peace mattered more. That's what indifference really is. It's emotional discipline. It's the decision to protect your energy like it's sacred because it is. You don't have to respond to every provocation. You don't have to fix every misunderstanding. You don't have to convince people of your worth. Because the truth is, our silence often says more than your words ever could. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain still, they're left powerless. They don't know what to do with a person they can't shake. And when the world realizes it can't control you, it stops trying. So today, choose indifference. Let the small stuff slide. Let the noise pass through you. Stand tall in your stillness, knowing that not everything is worth your attention. Focus on what matters. Protect your energy. Save your emotions for the things that truly deserve them: your health, your growth, your peace, your purpose. Because when you stop giving away your power to things that don't matter, you step into a version of yourself that is calm, clear, and completely untouchable. That's not being cold. That's being in control. Let's talk about something that most people never learned growing up. Not in school, not from their parents, and definitely not from society. Emotional boundaries. We all know about physical boundaries: your space, your belongings, your time. But emotional boundaries? Those are the invisible lines that protect your peace, your energy, and your emotional well-being. And here's the hard truth. If you don't set emotional boundaries, the world will set them for you. And trust me, it won't be in your favor. Without boundaries, you become an emotional sponge. You absorb the stress, the chaos, the moods of everyone around you. A co-worker's bad day becomes your bad day. A family member's anxiety becomes your burden. Someone snaps at you and suddenly, your whole energy shifts. Why? Because you didn't draw the line. Because you let their emotional state invade yours. But what if you didn't? What if you could witness someone else's frustration and not take it personally? What if you could be there for others without sacrificing your own sanity? That's the power of emotional boundaries. Boundaries don't mean you're cold. They don't mean you're selfish or disconnected. They mean you value your peace enough to protect it. They mean you understand that not every emotional storm is yours to walk into. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you said yes just to avoid conflict? When was the last time you kept silent just to keep the peace? And when was the last time that silence cost you your own peace? We're taught to be kind, to be understanding, to be available. But no one teaches us that you can be kind and still have boundaries. You can be loving without being emotionally available 24/7. Because here's the truth. Your emotional energy is limited. And not everyone deserves a piece of it. Setting boundaries means saying, I'm here for you, but I won't carry what isn't mine. I hear your frustration, but I choose not to match it. I respect your emotions, but I will protect mine too. It's not easy at first, especially if you're used to people pleasing. But boundaries are how you teach others how to treat you. And more importantly, how you treat yourself. So how do you start? Simple moments. Pause before you say yes. Speak up when something feels off. Walk away when a conversation turns toxic. Remind yourself, my peace is not up for negotiation. And here's the beautiful part. When you honor your emotional boundaries, you show up better for the people who matter. You give from a place of overflow, not depletion. You connect without losing yourself in the process. So today, draw the line. Not with anger, not with walls, but with quiet strength, with self-respect, with a deep knowing that you are worthy of emotional peace. Because when your emotional space is protected, you don't just survive, you thrive. You show up clear, calm, and fully grounded. And no one out their mood, their energy, or their drama can pull you out of that. Let's talk about a superpower no one really brags about. Because it's quiet, it's invisible, it doesn't show up on social media, but it changes everything. Self-control. In a world that tells you to speak your truth, clap back, react in real time, we forget that real power often lies in what you don't say, in what you don't do, and in how long you can pause before reacting. Self-control doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you manage them. It means you decide how to respond, instead of letting your emotions decide for you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment? Something you didn't mean, and then spent hours or days regretting it? We've all been there. That's what happens when impulse takes the lead. When we allow anger, fear, or stress to hit send before wisdom has a chance to speak. But here's what most people don't know. Self-control isn't a trait you're born with. It's a skill you build. Like lifting weights. Like learning a language. It takes repetition, awareness, and commitment. Every time you pause before reacting, you're training your nervous system to stay calm. You're telling your brain, I'm in charge here. And it's in that pause, at that small gap between emotion and action, where your true power lives. Let's break it down. Someone criticizes you. Your instinct is to defend. But you breathe. You give it a moment. And suddenly you don't need to prove anything. You can let their words pass through you like wind. That's self-control. You get an email that upsets you. Your hands are ready to type a fiery response. But instead, you take a walk. You calm down. And by the time you return, you realize that response would have only made things worse. That's self-control. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've decided that your peace is more valuable than being right. Because the truth is, anyone can react. That takes zero discipline. But to respond with clarity, with intention, with grace, that takes strength. And here's the beauty. The more you practice self-control, the stronger it gets. You stop being pulled into every argument. You stop needing to win every conversation. You stop letting small things steal big pieces of your energy. You realize, I can feel this and still choose peace. That's what separates those who are constantly rattled from those who are steady in the storm. So if you're tired of feeling hijacked by your emotions, start with one small step. Pause. Just for a second. That pause is your training ground. It's where reaction turns into reflection, where chaos meets calm, and where emotional reactivity gets replaced with emotional mastery. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present and willing to choose your response again and again. Because over time, those tiny moments of self-control, they build something unshakable, a grounded, calm, powerful version of you that doesn't just survive the noise, but rises above it. Let me ask you something. What are you still carrying that no longer belongs in your life? A grudge, a painful memory, a story someone once told you about who you are or who you're not. You see, we all carry things we don't need anymore. Old pain, unresolved anger, guilt, resentment. And most of the time, we carry it not because we want to, but because we don't know how to let it go. But here's the truth. Holding on doesn't make you strong. Letting go does. And no, letting go doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean denying the pain. It means something much deeper, something more freeing. Letting go means, this no longer gets to control me. It's a conscious choice to stop giving your past the power to shape your present. Because the longer you hold on to what hurt you, the longer it hurts you. Think about it. How many times have you replayed an old conversation in your mind, wishing you'd said something different? How often do you relive a painful moment, even though the people involved have moved on? It's exhausting, isn't it? That's because emotional pain is like a weight. And the more you carry, the heavier life feels. Every new experience gets filtered through the lens of something old. But the moment you decide to let go, something shifts. You feel lighter. You breathe easier. You stop living in reaction to what wasn't, start responding to what is. And no, this isn't easy work. Letting go takes courage. Because in a strange way, pain becomes familiar. It becomes part of your story. And stepping away from it can feel like losing a piece of yourself. But here's what you're gaining in return: peace. You gain energy to focus on what truly matters. You make room for new thoughts, new joy, new relationships, and new strength. And you start to realize that thing you thought defined you, it's just a chapter, not the whole book. So, how do you let go? Start small. When an old thought resurfaces, don't fight it. Just notice it. Breathe through it. Remind yourself, this no longer serves me. I'm ready to release it. Some days, you may have to do this over and over again. But with every repetition, your grip loosens. And eventually, you don't just say I've let go. You feel it, deep in your chest. Like a window opening inside you where fresh air rushes in and the past finally leaves. So today, ask yourself, what pain am I still carrying? Whose voice still echoes in my mind? What version of me am I ready to release so I can become who I was meant to be? Letting go isn't a one-time act. It's a daily decision. But it's the most powerful gift you'll ever give yourself. Because once you let go, you're no longer defined by the past. You're free to move forward clear, calm, and finally light. We live in a noisy world. Everyone's talking, explaining, defending, trying to be the loudest voice in the room. But here's what most people never realize. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you'll ever possess. In a world addicted to reaction, silence is rare. In a world that rewards outrage, silence is misunderstood. But for those who know how to use it, silence becomes a superpower. Let me be clear. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean you don't care. And it certainly doesn't mean you're avoiding life. Silence means control. Because when you stay silent in the heat of chaos, you take the power back. Think about it. Have you ever regretted something you said in anger? Have you ever wished you'd pause just for a second before responding? We've all been there. That moment when emotion takes over and reason steps aside. But silence changes that. Silence creates space. A breath. A pause. A moment to think before reacting. And in that space, you get clarity. You get to choose whether something is worth your energy, or whether it's just noise trying to bait you into giving away your power. When someone provokes you, and you respond with silence, it sends a message louder than any words ever could. I am unshaken. I am not yours to control. People expect a reaction. They feed off of drama. They test boundaries just to see what buttons they can push. But when you don't react, when you stay still, calm, collected, you stop being a target. You become untouchable. Let me tell you something that changed my life. Silence isn't the absence of response, it's the highest form of it. It says, I don't owe you an explanation. I don't need to prove anything. And I won't let your storm pull me into it. That's power. And it's not just about dealing with other people. Silence is where we meet ourselves. It's in silence that we process, that we understand, that we heal. Have you ever sat in stillness, no distractions, no noise, and just let yourself feel? It's uncomfortable at first, but eventually it becomes sacred. Because in the silence, the truth rises. You begin to see clearly. You begin to respond not from emotion but from wisdom. So today, I invite you to embrace the stillness. Not just when things are peaceful, but especially when things get loud. When conflict knocks at your door, stay silent. When someone tries to pull you into chow, stay silent. When you feel the urge to react, pause. Breathe. Choose silence. Because the strongest people don't always speak. They don't need to shout to be heard. Their presence speaks for them. And here's what you'll notice. When you become comfortable with silence, the world starts to respect your energy. You stop attracting chaos. You stop engaging in battles that don't belong to you. Instead, you move with calm, with clarity, with quiet confidence. That's the power of silence. So the next time you're tested, don't rush to speak. Don't rush to explain. Let your silence speak for you. Because in a world addicted to noise, stillness is strength, and silence is your shield. Let's be honest, life isn't going to stop testing you. People will challenge you. Plans will fall apart. Unexpected chaos will knock on your door. But here's the truth most people miss. You don't need life to be calm in order to stay calm. You just need to train yourself to be unshakable. And that's not a trait you're born with. It's a practice, a choice, a mindset you build on moment at a time. Because emotional strength doesn't happen all at once. It's built in the quiet decisions, the ones no one sees. It's built when you pause instead of snapping back. When you choose silence instead of proving a point. When you take a deep breath and remind yourself, I don't owe this my energy. That's where real power lives. Not in control over others, but in control over yourself. And the good news? You can start this journey anytime. Right now, even today. With every small act of calm, you're teaching your nervous system. We don't live in fight or flight anymore. We live in peace. Every time you walk away from drama, every time you don't internalize someone's bad mood, every time you choose not to carry what doesn't belong to you, you're building the foundation of something solid, something stable, something unshakable. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. And it starts with one core principle: self-respect. When you respect yourself deeply, you protect your energy like it's sacred because it is. You stop letting everyone else's emotions control yours. You stop tying your happiness to their approval or validation. You begin to realize, my peace is mine to protect. My reaction is my responsibility. And my worth is not up for negotiation. You let go of unrealistic expectations. You stop demanding the world behave exactly how you want it to. And in doing so, you free yourself from constant disappointment. Because when you stop expecting life to be perfect, you start living with acceptance. You start responding with grace. You stop reacting like a victim and start acting like the one who's always been in charge. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more you release, the more grounded you feel. The less you explain yourself, the more powerful your presence becomes. The quieter you get, the louder your strength speaks. So if you take one thing from all of this, let it be this. You don't need to fight for control. You become unshakable by letting go of what doesn't deserve your power. And when you live like that, nothing outside of you can break what's inside of you. So today, start building that version of yourself. The version that's clear, calm, grounded, unbothered, unshakable. Not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger.